Hi guys, I'm VikingDog78 and I'm back for Season 12 of the Aero League Racing Group 3 Championship. I have been finally able to throw the Renault in the bin and I'm back with a proper car this season. I've been able to pick the Nissan GT-R 18 for this season with this beautiful livery by Perry. And hopefully I will be able to mount a championship challenge throughout this season. And we will start with round 1 at Deep Forest. So jumping into qualifying obviously is as important as ever to get a good grid placement for the 15 minutes sprint race. Something that I've learned throughout the off-season is how important it is to get a good slipstream during qualifying if you want to get pole position. So I led the two Lexus drivers who are new drivers in this tier through to try and get their slipstream for the second half of the lap. And it kind of doesn't work out because my lap was terribly mid, at least the first one, but now we will approach the second lap, which is my PB for the session, so we will stay on board with it as always. Approaching turn 1, I'm going to brake at the 100-meter board, use first gear for rotation and get into the inside curb to get even more rotation using all of the track. That's always mandatory. Using the curbs here to cut through the S section. I'm being kind of conservative through here. You'll see my first split is a 24.1. I could have gone a couple of tenths faster and it will matter at the end, but going through here, it's mandatory that you avoid going over the white line. You can get a penalty very easily and that can ruin your quali. Most importantly, it can ruin your race. This hairpin going to first for better rotation. I don't get a good exit traction wise, but now from now on I will gain so much time because of the slipstream of Wesley in front of me. You see it's a 54.1. For reference, my final sector was normally a 0.0, a 0.0. Now we get through the hairpin. It's very important that I get it right. It's a corner that I've been struggling with the whole week and the whole round in general. And this is where the slipstream matters the most because we're going on an uphill section, and so we will gain even more time. You can see how much I close into the point that I have to pull alongside. And the lap is at 25.7, so I gained roughly 0.4 tenths just from the slipstream. Unfortunately, it's not enough for pole position. Sonic beats me by 0.03 of a second, but look how close the grid is. So, first race of the season, a 15-minute sprint, and while we wait for the race to actually start, let me reiterate how crazily close that grid is. Like everybody within a second, the top 6 or 7 within 4 tenths of each other. It's crazy. The level of tier 1 has been increasingly stronger. But here we go, and this was the most anticlimactic start that I've witnessed in a while because everybody had the driver behind with a worse standing start, so essentially we slotted in behind each other into turn 1 and literally nothing happened. The goal is to try and follow Sonic through in the first couple of sectors to then try and make a move, obviously, in the 2 long straights. I don't want him to run away. Ideally I want to get in front. My plan for the race was to get in the lead as soon as possible and then use the fact that everybody is so close on pace, like myself, Sonic, Philip in the Porsche, DX in the Supra, Iggy in the Alpha, Owen in the Genesis, and everybody else. Again, the level is so high, but my plan was to try and get in front and then use the fact that there was going to be a lot of fighting behind me to try and break away the slipstream. I get the tow from Sonic. I'm thinking about going for a move here. I'm kind of close. I have to almost avoid him, but that was never going to be a move, so I slid in behind. And you can see how much I struggle through the hairpin, but I don't think there was a lot more that I could have done. I guess it's more of a problem with the car, something that the Nissan maybe is not so good at. But I cannot really complain given that I got the Nissan from the car peaks, and yeah, I cannot really complain about that. Everybody's staying relatively close to each other. It's very hard to break away in this circuit. You really need to make a difference in the first two sectors, but if you don't, then everybody will come back to you with the two long straights at the end. This is crucial. Now Sonic has this snap of oversteer which sends him over the white line, and I knew at the time this was going to be a 1.5 seconds of penalty. It's a 1 second penalty, so he kind of got grazed and didn't get the other half a second, but that's fine. This means that I will automatically get through, and so will Philip. I just bump draft him because it's more convenient for me to use the slipstream as much as possible before he serves the penalty. So I inherit P1, and now it's about trying to defend from Philip as long as he is this close to me, and then trying to run away. Philip immediately pulls alongside me because again I'm struggling a lot through the hairpin. I'm like losing 2/10 to everybody else pretty much, outside of my teammate who's also struggling like me. He gets the inside. I wanted to defend, but by the time I wanted to go defensive, he already had the line, so I didn't want to cut across. Go around the outside, and I purposely avoid the light gray tarmac pads at the start of the corner because that kind of has less grip, and that allows me to get a better run through the corner on the outside, and that allows me to keep track position. At the end of the same lap, once again, we go into the hairpin, and I struggle a lot to rotate the car as much as other drivers do, and he will be once again very close to me. He doesn't manage to pull alongside immediately, which will allow me to go defensive for turn 1. Turn 1 is a corner where you can overtake both around the outside but also down the inside. So I choose to defend the inside because it's always preferable at the end of the day. And I managed to keep the position. I think Philip overshot the corner a little bit. And now I have to put in motion my plan essentially to try and run away. What's crucial here, and you will see from the next lap, I think I was the best driver during this round. I was the best driver in the first two sectors. You will see how much I open up the gap. We started turn 1 3/10 apart, and now we go through the first and second sector, and I will open up the gap to the point where Philip is almost out of slipstream range. We are already up to 7/10 after the first sector. I was so strong through here, like the car was such a pleasure to drive. This second sector with the downhill section nailed as well. Going into this 90-degree corner, the rotation was perfect. Traction almost perfect. And I've opened up to 8/10. Unfortunately, it's just about enough for Philip to stay in the slipstream, but this is a trend that will continue, and the following lap I've opened up to 1.4, which means that I'm not giving the slipstream anymore, which is exactly what I wanted because the pack behind is so close, and this is the kind of race that I was expecting. Everybody's so bunched up together because everybody prepared specifically this track during pre-season testing. And I was lucky to be able to run away. And I say lucky, but in reality it's about being very strong in those two first sectors. And by the end of the race I opened up a 2.5 seconds gap, which was more than enough to just bring the car home during the final lap and get the first win of 2024 and the first win in the first race of season 12 with a Nissan. While also Iggy manages to get Philip on the line. So yeah, that was great, and that also puts me at the back of the grid for the 40 minutes feature race. Now, the 40 minutes feature race, I expected it to be chaotic from the very start because again, with everybody so close on pace, it was going to be hard to make moves, to make overtakes. So I was expecting people to kind of force the hand a little bit and, crashes to happen. But at the same time, if we all kept it clean, it was going to be very hard to make any kind of progress. So I would have been happy with a top 5 in this race. given how close everybody is. This first part of the first lap, I obviously was very cautious. There was no need to force any sort of move because things will happen naturally. Gilles is off immediately. Hopefully that's the way I have to pronounce your name. I'm going like Gilles Villeneuve, so hopefully that's the way your name gets pronounced. Start of lap 2, there's this massive pack of cars as expected. I tried to make a move on Owen, but it was never going to work out, so I settled in behind immediately. And now everybody's going to bounce off through this twistier and slower section of the circuit. And yeah, everybody in single file, because you don't really force a move in this part of the circuit. Everybody just waits to get to the two straights that are coming up. Unfortunately here everybody brakes super early and I tap Owen in the back. I think he capped on the throttle and that's why he gets a 2-second penalty. Sorry, a 1-second penalty. I felt kind of bad because in a way it's kind of my fault, but there was another guy off that was the B Elite, so that's another position. Yeah, that penalty, I mean, looking back on it, I think he could have avoided it, but you know, I don't have his POV, so I'm not going to judge or anything. From my point of view, I just made sure that I didn't go for an overtake after bumping into him, and the penalty is just unfortunate and something on Gran Turismo's side of things. Everybody braking super early for the first corner. Kerpel was off, my former teammate, and I get the jump on Owen as well, so that's P10. I'm starting to, not to get impatient, but I understand that I have to start moving through the field because Ziggy and BX are doing so, and I don't want to lose too much time. I get the move on Bruma. He doesn't really fight it too much into the hairpin, but he will get a run into turn 1. Again, getting the slipstream through the uphill section here gains you so much time that it makes, in a way, makes the overtake easier into turn 1 than it is at the hairpin. I don't think I broke very late here, but I closed in massively still on Salonen, which I think was a testament to how good I was in the first couple of sectors. Philip got a penalty at the start of the lap, so I just used the slipstream to follow through and get the position on him. It would have been just stupid to try and force a move on Salonen as well. We would have been 3 wide. I have to defend the position from Philip, who's coming back. I defend the inside, but apparently I didn't defend aggressively enough because it still takes an even more extreme inside line. But it's pretty much the carbon copy of what happened in the sprint, and I keep the position around the outside. He has the outside for this corner, which means that he has to settle in behind. And now we follow the pack through. Like you can see how quickly we close the gap immediately. I spot out that Iggy has a 2-second penalty, but what I didn't spot was that BX also had one. So these are 2 championship rivals that will fall behind me, and that's very good. Salonen kind of outbreaks himself. I almost follow him through, but I don't. And Philip immediately comes back once again at me. This time I force him around the outside, and I think he overshot the corner just a little bit, and that allows me to keep P5. And now I follow CMP, who will get a 5/10 penalty. He will not serve it during this lap, which means that I will have, if I want to get past immediately, I will have to do it now. I went on the brakes a bit too late, but I don't think he calculated the switch back perfectly, so he didn't get it. And even though I went deep, I managed to get the position, so that's P4. But now I have Philip, Bruma, and CMP coming back at me on the main straight. Philip is already alongside. Bruma has a better run because he has been in the slipstream a lot longer. CMP also almost pulls alongside, but all I have to do here is keep the inside line, and that's P4 secured. And now it's about putting in the effort to close in on the guys in front. We skipped to lap 12 because nothing really happened. I broke away from the pack that I was fighting with, and I essentially got to my teammate Benjamin, who picks up a penalty here, unfortunately, and Wesley. Sonic is so far in front that I'm not even thinking about winning. I think he finished P11 in the sprint, and that gave him a super good starting position for the future, so I knew it was going to be pretty much impossible to contend the race win to him. I decided to undercut just to gain a couple of seconds and jump Wesley and Ben so that I wouldn't have to fight them on track, and also make sure that I was going to run away from the pack of cars behind me. What I didn't realize, however, or I didn't predict, was that Sonic would pit at the end of lap 15 because he's very good on tire wear, possibly the best in our tier, but he's in the Peugeot, which is an MR car, and uses the rears a lot more. So that allowed me to get very close to him from like 8 seconds to 1.5. And as we go through his outlap, I managed to close the gap even further to the point where I got the slipstream. And that became very interesting because maybe I didn't have the pace also on older tires to properly fight with him. But with the slipstream, that changes, and that may give me a chance to possibly win this feature race. After a couple of laps behind him, I really understood that my only chance was to absolutely nail to perfection the first sector and the second sector to get a run into the final 2 straights, because he is strong through here, so I absolutely have to go all out, which is what I do. He also runs slightly deep here, and that's the opening that I need. Now I'm within half a second. That's the distance that I had at the start of the sprint when I was able to close right on him at the braking zone. So I'm even closer this time, like under 4/10. The exit out of that corner was very good, so now I have the slipstream for the entirety of the straight. I know he's going to go defensive. He waits until the last second very smartly. He covers the middle. I could have gone to the inside, but it was not going to be a smart idea. I tried to go the long way around. Doesn't work, but I'm still very close. I'm still 2 tenths behind, and I will have a very good run into third one. So good. In fact, I'm so close that I will pull out of the slipstream for a little bit just to make sure that I get a good slingshot here. So I take again the slipstream, I go around the outside. There's no room on the inside, obviously. I try to outbrake him, which I do, but he defends very well on the inside. There's a small bump, but I'm not mad at it. It's just racing. He manages to keep the position. So now I'm very close though, so I will try again at the end of the same lap. Now I'm slightly more behind, so I'm thinking about diving at the very last second, which I try. I was just a couple of hundreds too much behind him, and I end up bumping him, and that costs me some momentum in this fight. And eventually the tire wear started to kick in compared to him, who went in the pits a lot later. And here was just a stupid mistake to exit the corner in third gear. I didn't realize I was in second, so I short shifted to third, and that completely killed my momentum and took me out of the fight completely. I don't think I would have been able to keep up anyway, because at this point my tires are much worse than his. And yeah, we end up the race in P2, 5.3 seconds behind him. Now we have to wait for the stewards, because this happened. So yeah, maybe I will gain a position from this, but I'm not too bothered by it. The stewards will decide. P2 and P1 for the first round of the season. A very good start in a very, very strong field. So yeah, I will see you next week for Spa-Francorchamps.